free.
What y'all were talking about earlier made 100% sense, because we were talking about this the other day as well. At least it makes sense to me. It depends who says something, unfortunately, right? Like you were saying, if you're a big YouTuber and you say something, or a big beekeeper and say something, it's okay. But if Bob puts something out there, oh my goodness, we can't do that. There's no papers, there's no documentation. And, you know, we've been talking about this Appy tablet for a year, guys. I've been getting slaughtered in posts and on YouTube videos.
Well, has it been a year?
Well, since September, right? So, but lo and behold, today in the American Journal, Randy Oliver puts up a post about extended release Thymol and how over a 3-week period has a 98% efficacy on killing varroa mites. Now it'll be the next best thing since sliced bread, right? Because now there's some documentation and it's in a publication and everybody is wonderful. But if Bob says it and he shows you that the mites are dead, right? I don't know. This is what's happening for me. Nobody wants to believe that, right? So that's the crazy part.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, guys, I'm totally. I mean, we sat down. I ate y'all's connected sausage. What you talking about? We're friends now.
At least you said it right. Some folks, they say, "I love that Conica." It was like,
I
no.
probably said it like that for the first little bit until I kept getting corrected.
I've just told them, y'all need to go back where you came from till you learn how to speak our language.
Randy Oliver used it in some homicide or something like that, some kind of wood block, but it was the same thing. He did it as extended release. But the principle's the same, right? And I think he said that it was I actually posted it up on the photos of it on the Facebook group there from No Life Beekeepers. So it was very interesting because, you know, same thing with the peppermint. You talk about the peppermint, everybody boo-booed it, right? Because why? Because they didn't want to try it. But the people that tried it all said, well, hey, yeah, my beetles are less, right? Now, the only problem I had with the peppermint wasn't the actual peppermint. It was Bob, because Bob was too lazy to unwrap all them peppermints and put them in all them boxes all year long. That was the problem with the peppermint, was Bob. So, you know, and so that's the thing that's so challenging for me on YouTube, is because my persona, if you will, when you're on YouTube, people get to know you just like you're their neighbor, right? But they don't know any of your prior experiences, what brought you to where you are now, right? What I don't promote my education all day, every day before I put up a YouTube video when I'm talking about a tablet, even though I know about it. Swarm lure, right? Tim, you did research. It's not that hard to find out what's in swarm lure. You could make all the swarm lure you wanted to make, right? But I did it and marketed it to compete directly against another product, right? So nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with what y'all's doing. They don't infringe on each other.
No, because we're not trying to, like, we had no intentions of, like, trying to build a business off of it. I was just like, y'all, we're just talking about something we found.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it at all. I mean, even guys, this is the second year I've been doing my swarm lure. I'm not rich. I'm not making like this mountain of money. You can matter of fact, I challenge you. If you think I'm rich, go on to Amazon and look up my swarm lure and look how many I've sold in the last month. And then look how many Swarm Commanders sold in the last month. They sold.
I don't even know how to do that, Bob.
Well, it'll say underneath that in the like 500 plus sold in the last month, right on the 200 plus sold, or 900 sold, and Bob will say 50 sold. You know, we're not on the same playing field there, because I don't dump tons and tons of money in advertising. You know, I don't. So, and as far as like the propolis and the wax, that's exactly what you want in a swarm trap. I've said it over and over again. When you are baiting a swarm trap, all a swarm lure does is get those scouts to find it and check it out. Whether or not they move in it is totally up to, you know, the size. It could be the direction, could be the location. It could be a lot of different things. So anything that helps that, that's a win.
Well, and on that, go to the, if you look in the Library of Medicine, if anybody's in, all right, I guess any new beekeepers in here, I guess we'll highlight real quick the whole point, purpose of whether, you know, no matter what you're using for a swarm lure, whether it's if you're old school and you want to stick to your lemongrass, if you want to use Swarm Commander, you want to use Swarm Rustler, and all that. The sole purpose is you're trying to mimic the pheromone from the nasonoph gland. That,
right.
Like I say, this is for the newer people coming in. The nasonoph gland is on the behind. See what I did there?
The behind.
The behind. And they emit this pheromone out of that gland, and they flap their little wings around, and that disperses the pheromone throughout, whether it's a log or a box that you have sitting out there. They're leaving a scent trail. Then they go back, do what most of y'all probably know, even beginner beekeepers, the little waggle dance. They'll do their little waggle dance, tell everybody, hey, look, you know,
come check this out.
300 feet down the road on the left, there's a fine oak tree up there. You need to check it out.
Down church.
That's it. Then they'll go back and forth, and eventually they'll choose a spot, and that's where the swarm would go to, and that's where home is made. And that's all you're trying to do is just mimic that smell. And
to get them to recognize, hey, this is a place, right? Whether or not they take that place. I had a guy come down yesterday, and he came specifically to pick up some Appy tablets, and he bought some honey, and we got talking about swarm lures, and he says, well, I've been using Swarm Commander. How does it compare to yours? And I'll tell him the same. They're about the same. And if they ask me about y'all's, I would say they're about the same, because all they do is get bees to find the place. It doesn't mean you're going to catch a swarm. That means it's going to show them where the place is, right? Hopefully you do. That's the goal.
They still got to make a decision whether they're going to stay there or not.
Right. So you had that, right? You sprayed it in the box. Bees came there. They decided, maybe this isn't the box we want, right? And then they leave. It happens. It's just getting them to identify. Hey, and I just wanted to show you guys today that I was so impressed with Ed's haircut that I shaved it. I got tired of this little Krusty the Clown look I had in the front, so I just zipped it all off. But yeah,
the bees don't get caught in your hair that way either.
What do you say, Chris?
But
how's
yeah,
everybody doing?
Doing good, man. How you feeling? I know you were sick for a while.
I had multiple blood clots in my lungs.
Well, that's not good.
Put me on blood thinners. I'm doing much better.
Good.
All the prayers, like I said, thanks for all the prayers, everybody.
Play the chicken you so awfully the waggle here.
Jasper waggled his way right up in the camera there. He must have heard he's not sitting down.
We heard somebody's voice.
He missed everybody.
Yeah. Y'all had me locked up for 12 hours. What's wrong with y'all? All right, mister.
But I heard you guys talking about swarm lures, and I'm like, yeah, I like them.
Yeah. It's, well, you know, it's like anything. guys. I mean, everything on. I mean, nobody reinvented the wheel on anything, right? I mean, it's just another way to do another thing, and it is what it is. I mean, I don't get offended by it. I mean, trust me, my lawyer's not sending you a letter like a similar swarm company did to me.
Hey, he better send it certified. That's the only way you get it back, Jack.
So yeah, I'm totally not.
Have all four get up and do the waggle down.
I'm all waggled out today. That fooling with that hot hive was enough for me today.
Yeah, I ain't got enough energy for that. At least that ain't happening tonight.
Well, I want to contain them in that box, but they had swarm cells, so I went ahead and split the swarm cells out into nuke boxes. So I'm going to ask you guys. You guys are outside the box thinkers. All right. So
I don't know. I kind of agree with Sarah. She said I'm an inside the box thinker. It's cooler in here.
Well, here's the thing. So it's pretty much, I would say, common knowledge. At least most people will say that a queen will not mate with her own drones, which means if you have a hot colony that's pulling off a queen, it's not going to mate with her hot drones. It would mate with your cooler, more gentle drones, if that's the hotter one, right? So wouldn't that, in fact, make her offspring less aggressive than her?
Let me catch up with you.
Well, I think it had to do with the fact of what drones mated with the original mother, because if it could carry recessive or it could be dominant depending on what she breeds with.
Right, but if all of my queens from last year that I replaced, right, that was not one of my queens. That was one of my nuke queens that I got. But if all of the ones that I grafted last year are gentle, and their drones will be the drones that are mating with this mean new queen, right, this mean genetic line, would that not, in fact, make her offspring less aggressive than the mother because they're going to have genetics from less aggressive drones?
I'm thinking it's 50-50. Depends on what
maybe.
I'm trying to find a piece in here because that's where we
like you say, it's whatever the recessive gene is.
All right, bear with me. In the Bee Journal, this one was volume 18, number 26. I think it was around 1881. It's a long. I didn't know everybody was going to come in this evening. That's why I was trying to find something to drag out the evening. But since we're in here, we'll just kind of highlight what's going on, especially since we're on drones. But the fella was wanting to know, are drones just useless in the colony, or is their only function to go out, mate with the queen, and then that just be the end of it? But are drones actually useful within the colony? But getting on to the queens, there's a little bit part here. I don't know if it helps or not, but without reading everything, maybe we can catch up to where we're going to go with it. But it says scientists in theory hold the drones of pure queens will be themselves pure, regardless of how the queens were mated. But many beekeepers of long and close observation have of the late years cited many expectations to the rule. We have often thought there is much yet to learn. Let me scroll up. Y'all know us. Regarding drone production and their functions in the hive, it sometimes seems almost improbable that nature would be so lavish with drone. What was that word again? Progeny, if only was conducive to the prosperity of conducive to the prosperity or perpetuation of the colony while the queen progeny upon which existence itself depends should be also exceedingly limited, and the instinct of these first emerging should appeal her to immediately destroy all possibility of succession. So if I lost you, I can go back and read those first couple sentences.
Well, originally they thought that they would just be pure, right? Is what that's saying, and then people started saying, well, maybe that's not the case. So, I mean, from what we've gathered recently, is that they say that the drone genetics are really from the grandparents of the queen, because drones don't have a father. So it takes an extra year for those genetics to come through. So the ones that I mated last year, those queen's drones in my yard would have the calmer genetics from the hive that I grafted that queen from. Now, these mean queens that I split off today, supposedly they won't mate with their own drones from their own colony, right? Which would have that mama genetics in it. So they would be mating with more gentle drones. So hypothetically, her offspring may not be calm, but they should be calmer than that current hive. And if not, it doesn't matter, because I'm replacing them all when I get my Jose queens. I just don't have those yet, which is why I'm not wiping that colony out, because I can use all of those resources in that hot colony to split and put gentle queens with to expand.
Are those mated queens already, or are they virgins?
No, the ones I'm getting from Jose will be mated.
Okay, so you're not going to have to worry about drones from your area, period, with the new queens.
Hanley asks a good question there. It says, that's correct, Bob. However, do you know that it's your drone she's mating with? No. However, I don't know of any other beekeepers that are right within my 2-mile radius from me. And
if I have some wild ones.
Yeah, and if they are, they're probably wild ones that passed off of my swarms from
right.
the last 6 years. So, yeah, there's no guarantee on that. But if not, regardless, they're going to get replaced. I just don't, a lot of people are like, I would just kill that hive. Well, no, I want that hive because it has an abundance of resources I can split. And that's what the goal is. So,
have you noticed where your drones are congregating at to mate at, though? Because yours go 2 miles, and other bees could be coming from 2 miles from the other direction.
It's true.
Up in the
center. I have no idea where that congregation area is. No idea. But
mine is over my apiary now.
What's that?
Mine is over my apiary now.
Oh,
I got the most hives. Yeah.
I saw somebody on Facebook post there was a swarm 40. It was somewhere around Charleston today. I almost tagged in it, but by the time I saw it, it was later. Are you going for the ring? Are you going for the championship?
I gotta get that swarm lure so I can make videos with it.
Oh, thank you. Suffering.
Yeah,
I threw the other bottle away.
Now, Bob, if you did like Corey and you did IA or AI, do AI. I'm sorry, I got dyslexic.
That's like me calling them the VHS queens.
Well, if you took your own drones from the calm hives and use their semen to inseminate queen, there's a high possibility you're gonna have a lot calmer.
Right.
It still depends on recessives and what shows up in that mating process from those drones. What's in their background? but you can control it a little better than if you just let them open mate.
Lee said he uses IA for VSA or VHS. Yeah, it's so yeah, I mean, the thing is that insemination equipment is like really expensive. I could buy a ton of queens for that much money, right?
Yep.
So
well, I mean, that's the way to control it. That's all I was saying,
Yeah. As far as being able to control what drones that she's mated with. But at this point, even if you make, let's say, 4 splits, if you get 50% back, you're only dealing with 2 nukes, right? And the fact that they're nukes is going to make them calmer anyway because they're small. So I did have my first, queen that I split off, the cell, it came back and it's mated and marked and it's laying now. Not very good though. I mean, she did lay up a bunch of cells, but then I looked at the pictures I took because I'll often just take a photo and then go in and blow it up so I can look in the cells. Some of them were just kind of like laying on top of the comb, and some of them were right in the comb. I mean, they look good, and then some of them might have got stuck on her butt, and she put it on the cell
Side.
there. Huh?
On the side of the cell.
Yeah, well, it was actually on top of the comb, like the honeycomb. It was like laying on top. I'm like, well, that's not good. Maybe she's just retarded queen. I don't know. It could be.
Well,
that's an ugly word, Bob.
I had one return. Mated queen return. I thought there was something wrong. I thought maybe it was a drone layer is what I thought it was, or a working layer, and a worker laying queen bee in the hive, because I was getting multiple eggs in the cells. They look like doggone, like when you cut down the trees and they lay in all different directions in the bottom, with like 3 or 4 eggs in the cell. And I'm like, okay, something ain't right. Well, it was, she was trying to figure out how to lay it. I happened to catch her, her mistakes.
All right.
Okay, I got a question for everybody.
Go ahead, Chris.
How can a laying, not a queen, but you're having a laying bee,
laying worker?
Yep. How can she have fertile eggs if she's not mated?
They're not.
How do they become live if they're not mated?
They don't.
They do. They're drones.
They come out drones.
Drones is a live bee.
Right, but
so how can they be live if
so are you
they're
talking
not
about
fertile?
a drone laying queen or a laying worker queen or bee?
Just a laying worker bee.
So a laying worker bee,
she has to be fertile to have a live egg. Otherwise, they're just dead eggs. Because if that's the case, you can manipulate the cell. When that laying worker lays an egg, you can manipulate that cell just enough with your pen to angle the cell down to make it look like a queen cell, and they'll make a queen cell out of that one egg. It's proven. You can do it. But does it come out a live queen, or what does it come out as? I haven't seen that yet.
Well, I've read that how the laying worker happens is, if you don't have a queen in the hive, you no longer have that pheromone footprint of a queen, which inhibits the ovary production on the worker bees. And one that happens to mature first, she starts laying eggs, is what I understand. And that's how she takes dominance in the hive.
Well, I got all that, but how is the egg fertile? They can't be fertile if she's not pregnated.
Yeah.
So you can't have a live drone, because that's a live egg. Otherwise, it would be a dead male. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like a human being fertile and not being fertile.
Jeremy Hart said a fertile egg is a worker, an unfertile egg is a male. All workers could have been a queen. They make drones to keep their genetic footprint alive via laying worker to keep their line going. Okay. So the only the female bees are, I guess, have sperm injected in.
Right. But they have to be injected with sperm to lay a live egg.
And that, what Jeremy just said makes sense, because I've asked the question before. Can a drone layer that's just laying drones, right? Can those drones actually fertilize a queen? Can they mate a queen?
Inside the hive, if you lock them up, yes.
What if they just mature and fly out? Can they do it then?
I don't know. But they can if you lock them up inside the same hive. My mentor's done it. He just puts a non-fertile queen inside a box, puts a whole bunch of drones in there, their own drones, and within 3 days, she's pregnated.
I guess technically, Chris, yes. You have to somebody that really knows the science, I guess. But technically, yes. In my opinion, trying to see what you say, that okay, that worker, she has all the working products as a queen. She has all the female stuff to lay an egg, just the same as a chicken. All right, you're not going to have biddies unless that egg they're fertile, but the chicken is still laying an egg. All right, so to a point, yes, I would say that the worker is fertile enough to lay a drone, but in order for her to make worker bees, she has to be mated, and that process take over for her to be enabled to have a worker bee and be able to separate the drone from the worker. Just the same way as a queen bee, she can decide, okay, on this cell here, I'm going to lay a fertile egg. Okay, we know coming from a queen, that's going to be a worker. All right, well, she goes across the comb over there to a drone cell in her reproductive system, and she knows how to run it. All right, this time, instead of laying a fertile egg, I'm going to lay a drone in here. Yet, to create life, there's got to be a portion of fertilization somewhere in order to create life.
We left you a comment on that.
What?
Hey guys,
maternity Apis mellifera, unfertilized eggs normally develop into haploid males by Archaeopteryx. I don't know what you talking about with all that, Lee. But I ain't fixing.
That's from Google. That's the Google answer. That's got to be a Google answer.
My goodness, that's a mouthful. Whatever that means.
Y'all can read the word and know what it says.
Parthenogenesis.
Yeah, but look, Wes made. That's a new name. But welcome in. Hey, I've never seen your name before, but he said the laying worker can lay. The egg is not fertile for a drone. The queen can lay both fertile and non-fertile eggs at her discretion, but laying workers don't have that option.
Okay, there's Wes.
But see, that doesn't well, God works in different ways. But I tell you right now, you can't have a live bee if the eggs are not fertile.
Well, I mean, Philip's saying though, not in the bee world, fertilization is not required for a drone.
Show me that in God's writings.
I don't know. I'm just trying to keep up with the conversation because I don't have that answer. I can guarantee you that.
I mean, that's almost like
I've got to run, but I love y'all.
And later, Bob.
Talk to y'all later. Have a good evening.
It's just one of those questions that's puzzled me since I started beekeeping. It's just like
Lee said that
don't make sense.
A form of asexual reproduction.
That's about.
But what happens if you put that worker lays an egg. Not supposed to be fertile, but it has to be fertile to have a live bee. But say it's not, and you manipulate the cell, and you can manipulate the cells that the queen lays in to make it look like a queen cell starting. So they'll make a queen cell out of it. Now, will that come out as a big ass drone, or a big working non-fertilized bee?
I'd just like to know how we got down this rabbit hole.
Because we're talking drones. And drones are useless in the hive, except for mating. That's all their job is.
I'm sure there's other things that they do that we're not aware of. Because if you don't have drones, you don't have a healthy hive.
DC said, "Yeah, I watched a documentary on worms."
Oh yeah. Well, on that.
Oh, because Russell said.
And going into some of that.
Good answer, Mark. I don't know if a drone is fertile to mate with another queen.
Well, imagine if it's a drone.
How can it be fertile if it was a non-fertile egg?
Well, that'll be the same way as if a queen lays a drone, because technically it's an unfertile egg.
I think they changed the chemical of the stuff they feed the different, because they changed the food for a worker bee. Basically changed it to a queen because she gets that royal jelly. So I have a feeling they changed the chemical of the food that they give to the drone. That's my thinking.
Yeah, but a virgin queen and a worker are not, and a laying worker are not the same thing. That's what DC's saying.
No, because she has the apparatus to fertilize. A queen does.
Yeah.
A worker, a laying worker, does not have the extra, let's say, birth, or whenever it passes through, because the way I've looked at it, there's two different points of the fertilization inside that queen. There's the portion of where she can decide, okay, this is going to be a drone, or I'm fixing to lay a slab of workers up in here, and she can decide every single one of those will be a worker. But to a point, I see what you're saying, Chris, on the. But you're going to have somebody smarter than me on that end to lay out the biology and science and of how that whole process of, okay, we'll say fertile or unfertile, or however you want to use the language of how the process works when it comes down to the nuts and bolts of things. Well, we got the chat rolling with this one, don't we?
Yeah, look, all I got to say about that is Jesus knows what he's doing a whole lot better than we do, even when we don't understand all of it.
Okay, here's our biologist and scientist coming in.
I love that introduction. No, I was looking for the video I watched on the lady that did the super detailed job on queens, and she had a microscopic view of the spermatheca, and it's a perfect sphere. Okay, and if it's full of sperm, it's cloudy, and if it doesn't have any sperm in it, it's clear. So the way they say it works, Chris, is that she chooses, based on the size of the cell, to either release some sperm into that egg and make a worker, or she holds that sperm back and lays an egg and makes a drone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I get that, but how can you have a live insect without being fertile egg? I'm a bug man, and I have never seen that in my entire 20 years of doing pest control. Ants don't do it. They have to be fertilized also.
Well, I mean, he was even saying like lizards. Some of them don't have to be. The lizards are all female, and their eggs develop into embryos without fertilization. But not all of them. God just designed some of them different.
He said, I'm going to do this. So
Just
the night they have that beach at,
y'all.
Ask 500 million
I'm going to get their heads a spinning.
But I'm like Ed, you know, how can the male be fertilized if he's not fertilized?
How can he be fertile? How can he produce sperm? Is that what your question
exactly.
is?
If he's not,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure they're the same thing. I mean, it's somebody said it was one chromosome or two. It's just one chromosome.
Diploid.
Yeah, that doesn't mean he can't produce sperm. It just means that he only has the genetics of his mother, and everybody she's derivative from, of course.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just be one of those questions that always ponders me.
Well, we can get in. Go ahead, Phil.
Let me ask you this, Chris, because to me that's one of the miracles of bees is that they do things that we don't really understand. It's amazing to me that the bees can actually make a queen just based on how they feed her. To me, that's as much of a miracle as anything.
I'll be right back.
You know, they can be sitting there without a fertilized mother and then say, well, we're just going to make ourselves another one. That's incredible. No, I don't know that any other animals do that.
Fish can change their sex. If there's no males.
I think hyenas carry both sex organs. Also,
all right, Mr. Larry, clear the air for us.
Larry's got all the answers. Come on, Larry.
There comes the biologist.
I'm gonna let y'all have this conversation for a minute. I'm going to get coffee.
Yeah, I popped in late. I was strapping down the truck and I missed most of the conversation, but the female honeybee is the same egg for a female or where the worker or a queen is identical. So she's got all the ovary ducts, she's got the spermatheca, she's got everything she needs. Yeah. But after 3 days, they restrict a diet, and that changes things down there. And it doesn't stop them from being able to lay an egg. And that egg, well, it's my understanding that egg will be alive and can turn into a bee. Now, I've seen laying workers where they just lay a ton of eggs. They can't get all the way to the bottom of the cell, but if they tried to make that egg into a bee, it would be a drone bee, from what I understand about it, because the queen she measures the cell. She'll either say, yeah, it's too wide for a worker. She'll lay an unfertilized egg. If it's a worker size, then she lays an egg and fertilizes it. And that's how you have your worker or drone bee. So, like I say, I've seen a lot of drone laying queens, and I've seen some laying workers. I don't usually let them get that far along to have laying workers, but when you have one, it's extremely difficult to get rid of her because the pheromone that she puts off starts acting like a queen, basically. But she's shooting blanks that they're live because the drone is from the female only. She doesn't have any sperm of any sort to make that into a live bee. That's why a drone layer, as far as a queen, when she runs out of sperm, then she starts laying drones. Even though she thinks she's laying a worker, she doesn't have the necessary equipment to do that because she's out of sperm at that point.
Right, and also I've had I guess my first year I was really trying to save a laying worker hive, and I let them go too far, and it ended up being almost all drones in there. But those drones were smaller than the drones that you normally see because they didn't develop because they were in those smaller size cells. And I've heard someone say that they suspect that those drones, it's an attempt to pass on their genetics, but it's highly unlikely that they do pass on their genetics because those drones aren't typically as healthy as the drones in a healthy colony. They probably wouldn't be able to compete very well in the drone congregation area. Someone asked how my mom was doing. She's doing good. Earlier, I dropped her off at her house this weekend.
That's good to hear she's coming along, bro.
See, I mean, she's got dementia, so it's it's progressive, but she's 89 years old, and we just deal with it a day at a time, and we're just glad to have her with us still.
My mom is 91, and we're dealing with the same thing. We don't know what world we're going to wake up in, and that not necessarily daily, but hourly, because she can take a nap.
Yeah.
Up looking for babies.
That's it. That's exactly right. What my mom's going to.
We deal with that.
Especially when she gets tired, it gets worse.
Absolutely. After 4 o'clock, sundowners kicks in. And it's kind of frustrating because you tell her something, 2 minutes later she calls you again. Go through the same process. We may do that 4 or 5 times a night. So.
Right. Yep.
Mr. Larry, can you see DC's question there?
I don't see any questions.
Okay.
Let me see.
It was saying, and I was asking for Harris. He just wondered if he could force drone laying queens to make drone factories.
I would think no. And the reason I say that is because I guess they may. If only sales you gave them were drone sales, I guess you could. But if drone layer, if she runs across a regular sale, she's gonna throw one in it. Like I said, I've been back to hives before that. Apparently, after I left, the drone layer pretty quick because it's completely full of drones, but they are the ugly little bitty drones. They could not compete in a of trying to mate with because, queen doesn't get attractive until she gets up in the air. She's not attractive. That's why when she leaves the hive, she flies low until she gets away from her family members before she flies up into the drone congregation yard. Normally that's not right out of hive anyway. So
yeah.
Deb, we will keep y'all on the prayer list. We sure hate to hear about your mama there. Go ahead, gentlemen.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah, and Mike, I think everybody says that the queen really doesn't determine what she determines specifically what she's going to lay there, but the workers move her around to where they want her to be, and they decide where they're going to put drone cells and build worker cells. So she has a little bit of a discretion, but he'd have to convince the workers to play along with that if he wanted her to be a drone factory.
Yeah, I just noticed on my frames, all the drones are on the exterior of the actual brood frame. They put them on the outside of them.
All right, if you wanted to take we'll take the queen out of the equation and just say we'll go back to the laying worker. Then could you just, all right, we'll say we're going to do a 2-frame split, if you will. You take just sheets of brood that are capped and add a frame of open cell. It'll be even better, especially if you got drone cells. That way you could get drone. But could that be a way to do it? To manipulate into just having a laying worker over here off to the side? Or are we going back to where the drones wouldn't be able to produce what they needed to make.
So you're saying don't give them the option to be able to make a queen?
Yeah, just make a working layer.
Okay, so knock down every queen cell until they're hopeless, and force them into being working laying workers.
Yeah, that way.
Yeah, you would get drones, but like Pastor Larry said, those drones probably aren't going to be able to compete. You'd have to use them like artificial insemination if you were trying to get those genetics, I think.
Okay.
Well, usually the laying worker will lay 4 and 5 eggs. They're so desperate trying to save their goal to they lay 4 and 5, 6 eggs one cell, and it's never all the way at the bottom because they can't reach the bottom. So they're on the side of the cell, and it's just not feasible to do that. If you want a drone factory, then use the green drone comb and just throw it in there, and then throw the sugar water to them and let them have at it. A queen will lay plenty of drones. You don't have to worry about having a superior drone. You can do number one, you can do the best drones out there as far as the possibility of having a good drone, but then you got the genetics to deal with. What genetics think you would be out of a laying worker, as far as would it be viable and would it transfer? Because we know that the meanness of the colony comes from the drones that you made it with. So you definitely some drone in your good colonies, so you have good solid drones out there to make. That's as the queen when you pick
the queen. And I also don't think the queen will lay drones unless everything's just right in the colony. They got to have plenty of food, and they got to have plenty of bees. Drones are a luxury. So, but you want, and they seem to me to lay more drones when they are getting ready to swarm. They lay a lot more drones. So, restricting their space a little bit, but they still got to have lots of resources before she'll even. Otherwise, she'll just skip over those drone cells. She won't even, and they'll fill them with nectar if she's not laying in them. But they've got to have everything taken care of before she even considers laying drones, in my opinion.
Well, and like you say, the hive. I mean, the queen, she's just a layer. If she don't lay and do right, they'll take her out. They won't put up with that. I mean, basically, she's an egg layer. And if conditions are not right, they'll replace her, supersede her, or baller. They take care of business, trying to take care of themselves, and take the hive forward. So, drones. I know that, especially this time of year, when they're wanting to make drones, throw the green comb in there. You're gonna have a ton. You're gonna have a lot anyway. If your comb is kind of warped or swelled out a bit, they get that anyway, or off the side and take the fun for them, because whenever they realize, hey, we've got enough stores coming in, we're good, we get a little bit, we need to get some drones coming. They'll bring them on.
Yeah, I use foundationless frames, and this time of year, it seems like they'll draw them out half drone cells. It's just, I stick them in there, and it makes me mad a little bit when I put one in there, and it's all drones, because at least 20% of every frame I have has drone cells in it.
Listen, I appreciate that. I'm gonna jump off. Listen, it's good to see y'all, and I'm gonna hunt some supper. I've just come in, got the truck strapped down, ready to head out tomorrow. So,
yeah, I'm about to jump off too. It's 10 o'clock here. So,
thanks much, Mr. Larry. It's good to see you, Chris.
Don't be you guys too.
See you later, Chris. Bye, Chris.
Later.
Real quick before we get on anything, was watching Miss T and those gifted memberships. All right. If I understood her correctly, they're good for the month. But the way YouTube has it worked out, that the ones that we gift are the most expensive ones. So if next month, if you decide to continue to be a member, then you can opt out of the most expensive one and go down to, the cheapest one or whichever one you want to do. But it won't be charged to you if you decide not to do it next month and all that. That's fine and dandy. But I just figured out that little option from watching Miss T the other day, and I was like, well, I wonder if we can do it. And so I got to pushing buttons, and sure enough, we can gift 10 free memberships a month. So I figured we got this Sunday, then we'll do the other 5 next Sunday. But just take a note or a reminder that if it's something you don't want to do the most expensive one, then you can click whichever one you want to. It's just kind of a appreciation to y'all, and hopefully, if everything works out this coming weekend, our weekend will be much more settled between just what we have going on in our day-to-day life. That I guess we're not really going to divulge everything, but there's a lot going on in our world right now. So we hope for our members, to try to do like a Saturday morning live chat for an hour or so. And we'll chit chat, open it up, carry on about whatever, we can talk bees, pickup trucks, Ford Fairlane, like old Keith Spillman had. Whatever y'all want to yak about, we'll yak about.
And next Sunday is Easter Sunday.
Yes. And everything works out. We hope to have Pastor Larry back to lead us in.
We're gonna have an Easter fellowship, y'all.
Yes.
But we understand everybody that has, family plans. By all means.
Absolutely.
We're not gonna be upset if you don't make it.
Where was you at for our live on Easter?
No.
No.
It ain't gonna be like that. Not at all. But we do hope some of y'all can make it in with us.
But we thought of what better way to have Easter, or, as we're going into Easter. I know many of us will be at church anyhow, but to have Pastor Larry come in and lead us in the Word during that live, and we'll definitely get into beekeeping, but we're going to listen to the Word a little bit.
There's a whole lot about honeybees in the Word of God, y'all.
Really?
Right.
Well, it's mentioned, 60? The word honey is mentioned 60-something times, and I think bees are mentioned, oh, mercy, you get me telling tales, I think 3 to 6 times, actually, bees in there, so.
Oh, we appreciate you, Lee. Very much.
What did you say there?
He said, I got family for Easter. I got family plans for Easter. I'll be right here with family.
Well, God love you. Yes, sir. That's why we enjoy these fellowships and live chats, just for, well, and to a part.
Fellowship, y'all.
Yes. Sharing what we have in common, learning from one another. Or, Chris coming in here this evening and throwing
diving down
wild
rabbit holes with one another.
Well, I got to say one thing, though, about that. He may have thrown a live grenade in the midst of us, but he didn't bail out right behind it. He stayed around for a while listening.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I get where he's thinking on that, because, I mean, you can ask.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, I agree with that completely.
Yeah,
that's like that. Yeah, the way I've always looked at it is it's just one more of those things that is amazing about bees. And that's why I tell people, when I'm telling people about bees, that's one of the first things I go to is that, what is it? A drone has a grandfather but no father, and then you have to go and explain how that works. To me, that's incredible.
What Joey said about that. He just said, I put that one on my list of questions for when I walk through them pearly gates.
Exactly.
He's like, I'm gonna stick with you, Joey.
Yeah, I put that question right up there with the fact that they can make their own queen, which to me just blows my mind. It always will. I'll never get over that. That you can take the mother away, and then they can make their own mother, another mother. Because if you think about them as as a single organism, the whole hive, that's incredible.
Everything about bees amazes me.
Well, Chris brought up another point too that I was reading through. That's why I enjoy going through the bee journal, and especially going back, and I'm more an old soul, if you will, is what folks have called me umpteen dozen times. But I love listening to the old timers, just on anything really. But especially since we gotten into beekeeping, how did you do it? How did your daddy do it? And you hear of how they took and done different things. But he was saying, take a pen and just kind of make that cell a little bit bigger, and it'll create a queen cell. Well, a couple of weeks back, I was reading in one of the late 1800s bee journal of how a lot of them men back in the day would have they would be able to raise hundreds of queens. But according to the article, what they would do is they would find just that little bit of, I'm going to say royal jelly or whatever you want to call it, down in that worker cell. There's feed down in there. Well, they would pull that egg out, discard it, mix that jelly up down in there just a little bit, and take the tip of their pinky finger and just kind of push in and make that cell a little bit bigger. Well, whenever they did that, and that queen, whenever she come back, she would lay an egg down, a worker, I'm assuming, because it had to be a fertile egg to be the queen,
right?
To make a queen.
What's the Bee Journal website?
Everything that I look at on the Bee Journal is through Cornell University and the beekeeping.
Just Google Cornell University, and they've got a whole beekeeping section.
Yeah, just put the beekeeping in there, and it'll all pop up together.
Look, Pastor Larry said, when somebody figures out God, we need to talk.
Yes, sir.
Amen.
I don't think God has any intention on us understanding all of his creation. That's where faith comes in. You just trust him that he knows what he's doing because he set it all up. And that's all I need to know about that.
Hey, Tim, that, you saying that, I've never heard that before, but that makes a little bit of sense because there's some people that talk about the, what's the method where you push the cell wall down below the eggs and that'll make them pick that cell to make a queen cell. I forget what that method's called.
Well,
and then there's also,
go ahead.
And then there's also the Miller method where you cut a linear strip of eggs and then you tie them, you cut them off and you tie them where they're facing down inside of the frame. And they're supposed to pick those because of not because they're bigger, just because of their position. You see what I'm saying? So I could see where if you stick your pinky in there, especially if you pull down on it a little bit, you've done two things. You've made it a little bigger and you've pointed it down a little bit. So that could trigger something.
Alley method. I know it was a name.
Where, well, it may be a modern name, like you was just saying. What'd you say, Miller?
The Miller method is when you cut out a strip and you you actually take like fishing line and you tie it vert to where the sails are pointing down on a bar.
Yeah, that's basically the same thing Allie was doing, but you wasn't using the string part, which you got to think this is going back 1800.
Yeah, I mean, you could attach them with some melted wax or some other way.
That's what
the one I saw.
doing.
He was tying them up.
And apparently that's a good method that they used back then. Between if you read in the Bee Journal, and especially if you go back to we'll say early 1900s down into the late 1800s, you hear Date Ant quite often in there, C.C. Miller, Allie, and some cat named Doolittle.
Right. Oh, it might be the Doolittle method. Might be, yeah. Doolittle is the one where you push That's exactly right. The Doolittle is where you take your hive tool and you push down the cell wall on the bottom of the cells you want them to use. That's it. The Doolittle method. I'm pretty sure that's it.
I think maybe last year, we ain't seen him in a while, but y'all excuse me. Brad from Cajun Homestead Beekeeping. He was doing that. He was, pushing down and just cutting out one little section of that cell wall or knocking it down.
Right, pushing it down, yeah.
He had queen cells, Buku doing it that way. So if you're interested in something like that, go check out Cajun Homestead and Beekeeping. And he done a video, like I say, I think it was last year whenever Brad was doing that.
Right.
There you go, Joey. You school them.
Notching, y'all. Yes, sir. Uh-oh, wrong button.
All right, buttons.
There we go. Yes. Andy Boo. No mics in the chat.
The reason I came on here was to talk to Chris about the queens, but what I really wanted to come on here, it was to ask if we all have clearance to call her Hannah Boo or not, or is that just reserved for the?
Normally, I just let the kids call me Hannah.
We're overgrown kids. Come on.
But Danae
said
she's going to call me Handy Boo from now on.
We could. That one could stick. That could be as bad as Snot Tub. Handy Boo is Snot Tub.
It's much prettier than Snot Tub.
Snot Tub any day of the week. Any day of the week.
And I got to go in and edit that. I forgot about Miss Hannah up there.
Well, that was all when you Snot Tub.
Yeah. I was in a rush trying to get in here this evening. So like I told you, I'll grab some tea real quick, but we on the way.
This whole weekend we've been running behind.
Yeah.
Man, those azaleas you showed today, that was amazing. And I was looking at it driving on my tiny little phone and they looked amazing.
Man, that camera, I told my grandma one day when I grow up, I'm going to get a camera that'll do them things justice. But
it was pretty impressive.
They are massive. Like, I wish the camera would really pick up the scale. But like when I was talking about how tall they were, I was holding the camera right in front of my eyes, standing in front of those bushes. I mean, they got to be a foot taller than me.
Rodney Middleton, is that swarm number 48 for you this year? As many that man catches some swarms.
I see how he catches so many
swarms. I got caffeine coming Tuesday.
Is that you?
Did you order some Death Wish coffee for me? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna die if you did.
Like not for real, but yeah.
In a good way. Lord knows I could use it tonight. So I told DC, no more rabbit holes. My brain is entirely too caffeine deficient right now. Hey, Lee, you're the bomb, man.
That's awesome, Lee.
That is awesome.
I'll get that in just a second.
We'll do a video on the espresso machine Tuesday.
And use y'all's cups from Lee too, drinking it.
Hey, look, I have been babying that second one since I broke the first one. That is awesome, Lee. I really appreciate that. We're gonna have to figure out some way to get Lee back.
Well, hopefully we're gonna try to get over there, and we'll work a day out with Lee. And we've kind of chewed it over with him a couple of times, but go over there and sit in Lee's span and have a chat over there in his old studio.
How much y'all want to bet Jasper will have his own camera for that live?
He can do it too.
Yeah, he'll have his own little director's chair.
I've seen that studio.
I've only seen it on camera, but I'm gonna be a nervous wreck walking around in the room like that. I'm gonna trip over my own feet and knock something over.
Well, the cameras make it look bigger than it really is, but it's pretty decent size.
No, it just looks like there's way too much stuff I could tear up in there.
He's got all them wires tucked back.
DC,
you might be going without Jasper.
Oh no, Lee, I love you. I gotta bring Jasper home.
That would be an ender right there, Lee.
I might have to fight Miss Renee harder to take him home than
I hadn't seen him. Hannah get real mad, but I bet we'd see it.
I try not to go there. I don't like getting mad.
I just keep my mouth shut. And that goes.
I do not like it when my Irish blood comes to the surface.
Especially when it's at me, I'm definitely going to keep my mouth shut. But if it's directed towards somebody else, it's one of them. Well, handle it.
Don't even throw a parachute.
Yeah, I'll step in if I need to, but
it's just that
carry on.
It's just that knowing. It's just that knowing nod, right, Tim?
Yep.
Yeah. I understand what you're about to go through, buddy. Sorry.
That person.
You ain't fixing to like this, Captain. Go ahead.
Oh, I see him on the side. Ding, 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 ding. Round one.
Oh man!
But thankfully, she ain't that kind of woman that gets fired up over a whole bunch. It has to be something showing.
I think we all have our moments, but
we do. I'm definitely human, but
it's best to keep suppressed as much as possible.
Well, I was gonna say I know how to push the buttons. That's for sure.
Just not that you don't know how to push the mute button.
No. I ain't even gonna attempt that because that just cranks the volume up even more.
Yeah, look, I will say this for all the women of the world. I don't know which one of y'all morons dreamed up that just telling an angry woman to calm down solves everything. Have his head examined.
I've heard somebody say that before. Oh, you're just a woman. Just calm down. Yeah, that don't work.
That's like waving a red flag at an angry bull.
That's just like when you ask a woman what's wrong and she says nothing. You know, it's not nothing. It's more than nothing.
Oh, I guarantee you there's a list behind that.
Well, I used to use a reference that, like old computers, bad error or bad file command. the same things a woman telling you nothing's wrong. There's something wrong.
Yeah.
Miss Jan knows what I'm talking about.
But sometimes you may not want to diagnose the problem. You leave that up to somebody else to draw.
There you go. That's right. You better call in the IT person.
The IT person.
And I think Robbie Middleton thinks I'm the one that started that, to tell a woman to quiet down or calm down.
And a butt.
All I can say is bless your heart, buddy.
No, that's what Rodney Middleton's saying.
Yeah.
And the reset button don't work.
No, it don't work.
Not when you go to that level, it don't. And the escape button don't work either. DC, I bet it was. But no, I'm still savoring that jar of honey. It's hidden.
It is hidden. We've got everybody's honey on a shelf where we did the unofficial official tasting. All right, it's right behind us over here. The jar DC sent, I have no idea where it's at. And that's the truth.
That was some came up, honey.
Hannah, when I first got married to my wife, I used to be the kind of person that I want to settle. If I had an argument, I'd want to settle it right then. You know, squash it, do what I got to do, make the amends I might have to make, which usually I do. But and that would irritate my wife to no end.
I was going to say, I got a comment for that when you get done.
But what happened later on is she says, well, just leave me alone. Well, I started leaving her alone. And then she'd get madder at me for leaving her alone. I'm like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to try to solve the issue, or leave you alone? So I figured out I'd leave her alone for a little bit, let her cool off, then go and revisit it after she's cooled off. And that's all. That's work. You know,
that's a good idea. But I will tell you, from a woman's standpoint, if you saying I'm sorry and making amends just to shut her up and move on, it don't count and it don't work.
Y'all think she's trying to tell me something?
So I heard one guy say, he said, my wife told me I don't want to talk about it. He said, and then just a few minutes later, she comes up to him and says, why are you ignoring me?
Now look, I will say, I don't do that. If I tell you to leave me alone, which I've never told him to leave me alone, ever. But the people I have told that, buddy, you best leave me alone till I can talk to you, or it's gonna be all even worse.
Any man has figured out and knows, especially, did I say the married part? Or just say me?
You just said
all right. Any married man knows, all right, where do I go with this? Do I just back off a few minutes like Ed's talking about, hush up and leave you alone? Or do I just pursue this because you're mad already? You know?
Can't get much worse.
It can't get much worse, so let's just go on and knuckle it out, if you will.
David said my wife wants to. How did we get on marriage?
Yeah, how did we get to that?
I don't know.
Lee said 11 years. Him and Miss Renee ain't had a fight yet.
Oh, yeah, right.
You need to start doing marriage counseling, Lee.
Yeah, you go Dr. Phil off the TV.
I mean, you're making it sound bad, but y'all, we really don't fight that much.
Oh, no,
right.
Disagree some, but we really don't fight that much.
Lee keeps crawfish at the house. That's how he keeps that woman over in Louisiana.
Yeah, Lee knows how to cook.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've been married almost 31 years now, and the first 10 were miserable because I wanted to fight all the time. I didn't want to go to bed mad. I wanted to settle it, So it ended up being a fight. But once I reverted back to just meeting at a different time, like the next day or later that day or something, it resolved. I get disagreements, but we don't have fights.
That's it. Like, I don't like arguing. I don't like when we're at odds with each other. That's not us. But DC, you are right. Men and women are wired completely different. And sometimes what is just something that's nothing to a man will really upset a female.
That's why we're so dumbfounded. Why are you mad?
Or why are you upset?
That's right.
It hurt my feelings, Snot Tub. That's why I'm upset.
Are you just well, go on and do what you want to do. Well, okay.
Mm-hmm. That's even worse.
No, when I say that, but I mean, we're both like, if we do get in an argument, I mean, me and my Irish temper, it goes for especially, but I'm not one, I will walk away. Just get by myself for 20 minutes and just breathe where I can have a conversation without losing my temper and making it worse. But I don't like that. I don't like drama of any kind, but especially not between me and my husband.
Yeah, thankfully we both pretty well on the level of,
a wise,
but we can work it out.
A long time ago, a wise man once told me. He said there's an old guy. He said, Philip, there's not but two ways to figure out a woman, and he said, don't nobody know either one of them.
That's the truth.
I'm gonna tell you what, though, and a lot of women won't admit this, but I will. Sometimes we don't even know what's wrong with us. I ain't even gonna lie. Sometimes you're just emotional and overwhelmed, and I'm the kind that I'll just let stuff that's stressing me out or bothering me just pile up because I don't like to cry about crap. So I just kind of, white knuckle it, but then it'll be something really, really stupid, like dropping a pie baked in the floor. I'll have a meltdown on it. And I don't even know why I'm upset and crying other than I dropped a stupid pie. And that's not a reason to cry.
What was that meme you showed me the other day about the husband and wife? Are you mad, or is it something?
No, it was on the Book of Faces or whatever, but it was a picture of a woman, and like she had her arms crossed and her back turned to her husband, and she goes, "I'm mad at you," and the husband goes, "Again or still?" That's the wrong thing to say, buddy. Man, I about fell out of my chair laughing at that. I went in and said, I was like, "You gotta see this." That was the best one I've seen in a long time.
Lisa, that's what Renee says, just having a bad day for some reason.
See,
I don't know.
Women can understand that, but men's brains just don't work that way.
It's just the hormones.
Yeah, I ain't claiming that one. I'm just emotional.
Women get really hurt over that.
Well, Mr. Lewis, I can cook up a fair meal, I guess, but I like her cooking much better.
He just likes my dishwashing much better.
Mm-hmm. Her doing whines a lot.
Oh, it does. Yeah, it makes the awfulest little whiny baby racket when I turn that thing on. I told that to Todd the other day, and he didn't get it. He was like, "Your new dishwasher's making a racket already?" I'm like, "Yeah, its name is Snot Tub."
Yeah,
the thing is cute.
So Tim tries to get out of doing dishes by doing the cooking. That's how.
Yeah, it's like I've told Tim already that there's never been a man shot while he was doing the dishes.
That's a true statement. Might get knocked in the head with a frying skillet, but he ain't gonna get shot.
Well, not till after he finishes them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
no sense in jumping the gun.
You wipe that counter down and put that rag up, and it's on.
Yeah.
They smart about that too. I'll stay quiet until he gets that wrapped up.
Oh yeah, we learn a few things, even though y'all think we don't. DC's on the spaghetti now.
DC always likes talking about food.
Well,
whose chat was that not long ago? Where they were talking about baked spaghetti ain't real food.
I think Jegs, one with Jegs was in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said that's a spaghetti. What did they say? That's a spaghetti casserole. Is what they said. I about fell out when I heard that.
Well, I wouldn't put in there. Well, you know, you eat lasagna, right? Lasagna is baked spaghetti.
Well, I have to kind of disagree with you. You got different seasonings and different noodles in there.
Yeah, we always called that a goulash when you had a bunch of stuff stirred with pasta and put it in the oven.
It was one of Miss T's lives.
I thought so.
Yeah, because they was talking about somebody putting sugar in their spaghetti, and some folks was having a fit. I don't know. I like a little bit of sugar on my big limas. Now that's the only way they could eat me to eat. You know, eat my lima beans as a kid. My daddy threw a little sugar in there, and I was like, okay, I can handle that. But even as an adult now, that's pretty well the only way I'll eat lima beans, unless I salt them up real good. But I still like a little pinch of sugar in my lima bean.
I like smoked ham in my lima beans.
So I did some chicken the other day, and I put it on the grill and browned it up, and then I put it in foil. And I'll usually pour a little barbecue sauce in there and seal it up and put it back on the heat for about 30 minutes. But this time I stopped myself and I said, wait a minute, I'm going to put some of that baker's honey in there instead of that barbecue sauce. And you talk about good. Poured that baker's honey over it. Yeah, it had all it had was salt, pepper, and paprika, which is my basic dry rub. And then I put that baker's honey on it and sealed it up and finished cooking it. Oh man, it was tender and good. Wow. And glazed.
Okay.
What I found was the whipped honey with cinnamon in it. Put that on a sweet potato. Oh my goodness.
I'll bet.
Butter and that cinnamon whipped honey.
I ate a lot of sweet potatoes.
Especially if it's a Chilton City, Mississippi sweet potato. That's the best sweet potato there is, in my opinion. Yeah, they don't get no finer than a good old Mississippi sweet potato.
And y'all can see some of the looks I get at different grocery stores because I have to specifically ask, do y'all have Mississippi sweet potato? They think it's a brand name. I'm like, really? How long y'all live down here?
Well, there's a sweet potato in Louisiana they call a yam. And I think they grow them over around Natchitoches. And they're bigger and they say sweeter, but I think it's a kind of a marketing ploy.
Man.
I hear dishes cranking. Jasper washing dishes for y'all tonight.
Well, he just got in his bed.
Yeah.
I hear a bunch of dishes cranking. That's why I said that.
He gave up and curled up.
He's done.
Yeah.
But
yes, these are. Look, my grandma had a fit. What, about 3 years ago or so? It was before she got completely bedridden. It was one of the last holiday meals we cooked. And me and my grandma ended up doing most of it that year. We spent, a solid day in that kitchen cooking. But my aunt had called her the day before. She was getting some of the groceries and bringing them for us to cook. And she called my grandma and wanted to know if she had the canned yams for the sweet potato casserole. And I blushed the way my grandma went off on her. What is wrong with you? That is not how you make a sweet potato casserole. I mean, she lost it.
Pretty much told her, if you bring that in here, it's going to go in the garbage.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my goodness.
I hear you.
But we had a blast doing that because Tim went to the grocery store and got us real sweet potatoes to bake. And me and my we had like a dozen sweet potatoes in this mixing bowl we were beating with the electric spinner thing. And she went to hit the eject button to kick the little whisk deals out. Well, she hit the high button instead of eject. We cleaned sweet potatoes off the 10-foot ceilings in that kitchen that day. That was the most fun I've had cooking in forever now.
Yeah, if you get a good sweet potato, whenever you put that rascal in the oven, and whenever that puppy's ready, and you see that burnt crystallization down there on that aluminum foil, you know you're fixing to tear into something good. If it ain't weeping out like that, just throw it in the garbage.
Or you can make a casserole out of it.
Or make a casserole.
Yeah. I don't even put butter on sweet potatoes. I eat them just straight out. Just eat them.
I can make a meal with a sweet potato right by itself.
I ate a bunch of them because I'm trying not to eat carbs, so I eat a bunch of them. I eat one every night, I think.
Yeah, we love them.
We'll get the 40-pound box when they start bringing. Like I said, when I know they're bringing in the Mississippi potatoes, we're gonna go get a 40-pound box.
Literally.
They'll last us, I don't know, about 2 months. We'll finally get on through them, but I mean it's good sized potatoes. You ain't getting no little skippy sweet potato off of it. You get a meal out of just one of them bad boys.
One potato, one meal.
Yes, sir.
I like the little ones when you're doing just a side. You eating them as a side.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel like you got to cut them in half and anything like that.
Well, it's not it's way past my bedtime. I'm having fun, y'all, but I'm winding down really fast since I'm out of coffee.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all. Thank you, everybody. Philip,
thank y'all. It was been good.
Yes, sir.
It was fun.
All right. Good night, Hanniboo, or is it Hanniboo or Hanniboo? I can't even get it right.
Well, the kids call me Hanniboo, and everybody else, just like I was telling Danae earlier, I don't even think my dad remembers my real name. Like I've been Boo my whole life in my family. That's what all the grown-ups just call me Boo, and all the kids call me Hanniboo.
I thought they were calling you Auntie Boo when you first said it. Didn't know you were saying Hanny.
It's Hanniboo.
Hanniboo. All right.
That's how they get away with not saying aunt.
Yeah, it's a nickname, so it works though.
Yeah,
I don't mind it for the kids.
But
so,
well,
all right.
All right. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Y'all take care.
See y'all later.
All right. Well, y'all.
I don't know if Miss Leona's still in here, but if you are, y'all take care, Miss Leona.
Where am I?
We are looking forward to next week, big time. Y'all say a prayer that I don't fall, and I'll actually be able to be myself with y'all on here next week. I'm probably gonna lock myself down in this chair so I don't have another incident.
It's a blessing having y'all. We look forward to having y'all come in again as well, and maybe
Miss Leona will make a sneak peek in here.
We enjoyed talking with her.
Yeah, we did.
That was a blessing in itself there. thank y'all, everybody. Thank you to the members. Thank you to the ones that put a love offering in there. We do appreciate you.
We do. We don't expect it, but we do appreciate it.
Lord, no, we don't. But yes, once again, thank you. And y'all have a blessed week. And God bless you. Lord willing, we'll see y'all on the next one.
Y'all take care.